Working on my mental health. Doing better from
8:05. We in here. Remember, you can support me by sending stars. Stars help me be able to create more content for the Lightroom. So go ahead and send those stars. Shout out to everybody who has given stars thus far. I hope this isn't too loud. But this is the Lightroom's theme song, right? Working on my mental health. So come on in. We're working on our mental health. And tonight we're going to talk about stress. Ooh, stress. I'll tell you. I ain't going to talk about the last few minutes of my day. But stress. Good stress, bad stress. Stress you brought on yourself. Stress caused by others. What's the definition of stress? What can stress do to you? My mama's in the house. Shout out to my mama. What can stress do to you? How can you get a handle on stress? How can you fight back? What are some ways to cope with stress? All that good stuff about stress. We're going to talk about that in a second. So go ahead and share this live. Get your people on here. Get your people in the room so that we can go live for Mental Health Mondays. It is May. May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. And we're working on our mental health. Enjoy the song while we get everybody in here. Go ahead and share this on your Facebook page. Go ahead and share this in your family chat groups. Go ahead and share this in your Facebook groups, wherever people are who deal with stress. Raise your hand if you don't know anybody that deal with stress. Exactly. Everybody's hand was raised. So go ahead and share this live. Share it with your friends, your family, your coworkers, your church member, your pastor, your staff, anybody, everybody, because we all deal with stress, right? And we have the expert, the stress spurt himself, all right? Mr. Kameron Lovelace, licensed mental health therapist, okay? Black man, black therapist right there in Memphis, Tennessee. So go ahead and fill this room up because I don't want Cam talking to just me. Y'all may have questions. Y'all may have things y'all want to know about. And I want to make this time with him in the Lightroom the most memorable time, okay? I want us to fully get through this live, okay? Because if you know, you know. But tonight, we're going to get fully through this live. So go ahead and share this live on your Facebook page. Go ahead and share it with your friends. We're going to bring Cam in a second, but I don't want him talking to just me. I want him to be able to have some people with questions, with comments, with concerns, people who, I'm so stressed out. Oh my God, I'm stressed. What do I do? How do I help myself with stress? How do I help my children with stress? How do I help my spouse with stress? How do I help my son or my husband with stress? How do I help my daughter, or my wife with stress? Because people handle stress differently. But Cam is going to talk about it. You won't know about it unless you're in here in the Lightroom with myself and Cam. Cam is already here because he has dropped his green heart. So I'm going to bring Cam on in a second. But before I do that, I am Marquita Dorsey, your certified mental health first aider. You're a trained, soon to be certified mental health advocate and coach. I'm going to finish my program, the certification part anyway, but I am trained to do what I do. Shout out to Colleen Diana of the Green Heart University out in Baltimore, Maryland. She is the reason that I sit before you with this green jacket and this pen that says that I am a coach, a mental health advocate and coach. Okay. So shout out to her, and everybody in the Peacock Nation, right? We are Peacock Strong. Shout out to everybody in the field that's doing the work. May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. It is a joy. I am elated that Cam is able to come into this space. As you know, we've been live every Monday this month because it's National Mental Health Awareness Month. The Lightroom has 3 goals: educate, empower, and equip the Black and brown communities with the knowledge, the skills. I was running skills and tools together. The knowledge, the skills, the tools, the resources, and the language. Okay? We have to understand the language to advocate for our mental health. Right? The language of, I need to take some time to rest. I need to learn how to regulate my nervous system. I need to recognize what my triggers are. I need to be honest about hurting so that I can heal. That's what the last guest said on Monday. Said I couldn't heal because I wasn't being honest about being hurt. So we have to be careful with our language as well. But we're going to talk about it, right? Stress. Are you stressed? COVID, pandemic, school, life, marriage, divorces, work, new baby. Listen, I ain't gonna talk about it. I ain't gonna talk about it to the end. I'm gonna let Cam come on in. But listen, get this live together. Spread it across the Facebook nation. Prom was this weekend down here in the Mississippi Delta. The children were absolutely beautiful. Shout out to Cleveland Central and every other surrounding school, McEvans, Warriors, and every other surrounding school from here, from there to there. Shout out, those babies were gorgeous. To prom, thankfully, they all made it home safe and sound. Hope you all had a good time. Go ahead, share the live. Sending your babies out to prom, driving these cars, going to these places without you. That was stressful, huh, Mom? That was stressful, huh, Dad? I know, but thank God they're back home with you. Thank God they're back home to talk about it with their friends at school today. So I hope they talked about it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to bring Cam into this live. But before I bring Cam in, share the live. Share it in your groups. Share it in your Facebook group. Share it in your text message group. Let your family and friends know that we are live in the light room. Also, remember, when the man starts dropping the gems, because I know that he will, make sure you react. You have hearts, you have likes, you have fire, whatever you need to drop. But let him know that what he is saying is fire and that you understand. Because I know that all of us has experienced stress to some level. Good stress, bad stress, whatever the case may be. We're going to talk about it tonight, all right? So I'm going to play the jam one more time. And as I do that, I'm going to go ahead and make sure we can get Cam in the room. Let me get my gear set up so that we can be ready. We're working on our mental health. Shout out to Lex and her brother for this song. The Light Room has their own song. We got our own song, y'all. So I'm going to bring Cam into the Light Room. I hope y'all are ready, because we are, to work on our mental health. Go ahead and share this live. Let me get Cam in here. We're working on our mental health. It's National Mental Health Awareness Month. Shout out to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, also known as NAMI. I am beginning to work more closely with NAMI San Antonio with the great work that they're doing there to help combat these challenges with mental illnesses and mental wellness in our community. So if there's a NAMI, there is a NAMI Mississippi. I looked it up already. There's a NAMI in Tennessee as well. So there's a place for you to go to advocate, get resources for free. But you can support NAMI by making donations so that when they have luncheons and the work that they do can be supported. All right. Cam is here. Cam is here. Welcome to the Light Room, Cam.
What up? What up? What up?
How are you? Oh, it sounds good. It sounds good. It sounds good to me.
For those of y'all who are OGs in the Light Room, know that it was a tense moment just now. That it was. I was sitting here before you even brought me on. I was praying. I was like, "Oh, Lord Jesus, just let the connection work. We put it in your hands. Prepare my heart to help my mind be able to remember the information." I was praying before. I was like, "Please, Lord, just let the connection work this time." So, yeah.
A smooth come through. The prayers of the righteous. I ain't gonna even tell you that my phone thing is on the Bible. I said, Lord, let me let your word be the foundation, because we need it tonight. Like, this is our third time, so it has to be a charm. So we came in smooth with the charm, and we're gonna stay that way, right? Mm-hmm. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming back.
Absolutely.
Again and again to the Light Room. But the work you do is so important, especially in the area of expertise that you have for stress. We know culturally stress is a big part of our life, be it good stress or bad stress. But unfortunately, more often than not, we're more acclimated with the bad stress, right? And I want us to be able to come into this space and talk about it, be educated on stress, to be empowered to pick up tools and language and skills to overcome that stress, and so we can be equipped, all that good stuff. I try to run it all three together. I made a post today because I seen the Ja situation in the news, and I had just took that picture this weekend, right? Just took the picture this weekend. Shout out to Slim Huskies, baby. Still good with me. But I just took that picture of him this weekend, not knowing I'd have to use it today. Praying for the young man. I don't know him personally, but I've seen firsthand the stress, the anxiety that can come with having such responsibility, such, attention. When you aren't developed and ready for whatever the reasons are, it can be stressful. So definitely sending love and prayers to him that he would, look inside himself and believe that he deserved the life that he has, and he'd fight much harder for it. So that's me. So those of you who are OGs, you know who this is. This is Kameron Lovelace, the mental health therapist, licensed professional mental health counselor right here. But if you're new to the Lightroom, this is Cam. We've tried this a couple of times to talk about stress, which is one of his focus areas. The man has written books. He talks a lot about stress. He knows stress. So that's why he's going to be the one talking about stress for National Mental Health Awareness Month. Once more and again, go ahead and share this live. Get your people in the live. If you have questions, y'all know how we do. Put your questions in the comments, right? Don't, because I've thought about it and I looked into it. I've been telling people, I know where my audience come from. A lot of them are from Memphis. A greater majority is from the Mississippi Delta. I went looking for resources for the Mississippi Delta and I really couldn't find any. I'm just going to be honest. Y'all don't have a whole lot of help down here. Not the type of help that, you know, can sustain you, that you really need firsthand. So when you come into the Lightroom, if you're in the Mississippi Delta, when you have people like Cameron coming in space, take advantage of it, right? Whatever questions you have, you can't get to a therapist right now, he's right here. Ask him, you know, put it right there. And he may be able to refer you out to Memphis, which is the next, you know, place up. So
yeah.
This is Cam. That's how I know Cam. Well, we used to go to church together. His mother, I love her. She was, she taught us for the, at New Life. Those of us who wanted to be teachers in ministry at New Life. So she was our new members teacher, and she taught us, she was our teacher's ministry. I cannot think of what the title of the class was. But Pastor Sherry knows what I'm talking about. Yes. Pastor Sherry knows exactly what I'm talking about, but I love her. Such a sweet spirit, and baby, she know her word, okay? So I know she know it, and Cam know what to do. So if he's anything like his mama, he is equipped for tonight. So Cam, that's how I know Cam. We used to go to church together at New Life, and I know his mom. And Cam is, again, a Black therapist in Memphis. But now I'm going to let Cam introduce himself to y'all that don't know him.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Kameron Lovelace. I'm not licensed yet. I'm less than 100 hours away. And, you know, because the board meeting is soon. But anyway, I've been working in mental health since I graduated with my bachelor's in 2015, then got my master's in 2019 in clinical mental health counseling. I'm an adopted Memphian. I'm not from Memphis. I moved here in 2015 after I graduated. And I mean, I've been serving people through mental health counseling, coaching, mentoring ever since. So that's a little bit about me. I love to talk stress. So because it's important to not only your mental health, but also your physical health as well.
Yeah. Well, come on with the door opener, because I was going to ask, how did stress become such a focal point for you? And shout out to 2015. That's the year I came back to Memphis. It was a good year.
Gotcha.
Good year.
But it really became the focal point to me just because, one, I kind of realized that people don't know, before we even get into depression, before we get into anxiety, before we get into ADHD, before we get into bipolar, before we get into all these mental health disorders that are in the DSM, I realize a lot of people just don't know how to decompress. They don't know how to just reduce the tension that is in their body. Like, because, I mean, I won't say a lot of people, but a lot of people don't have a clinical mental health disorder. They're just dealing with a whole lot of life situations, which affects their health, which affects their behaviors, which affects the way that they think, which affects the way that it just affects so many different things. And so I was like, wow, if people can learn how to manage their stress, honestly, that can prevent like the evolution of depression. Because honestly, I like to believe that, you know, not necessarily the major things, like when we're talking about psychosis, when we're talking about, you know, personality disorders, not that, but when we're talking about the minor, I say minor, we're talking about the more common mental health issues, like your anxiety, like your depression. Honestly, the core of that is how your body just reacts to the stress. So if you think about it, when we're stressed out, let's say we have this going on, we got that going on, we're not getting enough sleep, we're doing all this type of stuff, and how that overwhelms you, it eventually you get, you know, low energy, you have trouble sleeping, you're not very motivated. What does that begin to sound like? Depression. That's the precursor to depression. On the other hand, another person going through that same thing begins to have racing thoughts. They get really nervous. They start having sweaty palms. And what does that sound like? anxiety.
Anxiety.
So
Yeah.
if we can learn how to manage the stress before it comes in, before it evolves into a mental health condition, then I think obviously we can learn how to treat mental health just a whole lot better. Not to mention the physical stuff that prevents as well. Because honestly, if you look at most physical condition, the more common physical conditions, what do they almost on everything? It's usually about halfway down. They always say avoid stressful situations, whether it's high blood pressure, whether it's diabetes, whether it's cancer, whether it's lupus, whether it's shingles, whatever it is on the list, they always say avoid stress, which we can get into that. But if you learn how to manage your stress, you prevent a whole lot of health issues. So that's where I started putting my flag down and going in.
I don't think I've ever heard it broken down that way. I don't think I've heard at the root. Like I said earlier, when you start talking about mental health and the way you just explained stress, and I hope y'all heard that, the way you just explained the bottom line, the root of these things was amazing, right? Because a lot of people can't stop right there. Learn to just take a deep breath, learn to manage your stress. There won't be so many diagnoses for anxiety, depression, things like that. So thank you for giving that very clear-cut opening to the root of it all. And so, like, we know that there's good stress and there's bad stress. Culturally, what do you think it is? Like, what do you think it is that makes us respond the way that we do when it comes to stress? Why we don't have a better handle on stress, how we deal with stress?
Unfortunately, one, everybody responds to stress different. One, everybody's body is different. Like even you can have the same, you can be siblings with somebody, have the same genetic code, but everybody just responds, their body responds so much differently. But honestly, you got to look at it from, I say, a environmental perspective, because if you're from communities like ours, a lot of them come from impoverished or inner city, whether you're in the country of the Delta in Mississippi, in a country road with no asphalt, or if you're in the inner city of Memphis, you're going through different experiences, and that starts to weigh on you. And so honestly, we in our communities, whether you're country or whether you're city, you aren't necessarily taught how to properly manage your what you have going on and how you're feeling. And honestly, a lot of our parents love them, and our grandparents love them too, but they start to tell us, you know, things that dismiss what we're going through. I think a running joke on TikTok or Reels or different stuff like that is, I'm feeling depressed. Okay, go depress them dishes. That's a running joke, and I'm just like, I just kind of internally, I laugh, but I cringe at the same time. And it's so funny. I was having a conversation with a girl who's actually not my client, but we were talking, and she was telling me how her mom can be a little like dismissive when it comes to, you know, her thoughts. Like she said that when she was in like 6th grade, she's in like 10th grade now, 9th or 10th grade now, but she said when she was in 6th grade and she told the school counselor that she wanted to kill herself. And like it was a whole thing when she got home. He's like, why did you have me coming up to the school? You know you don't want to kill yourself. Why you want to kill? But that unfortunately is more common in especially our community, that it's very dismissive. It's like, no, why do you want to kill yourself? Like, you don't want to kill yourself. What's wrong with, like, it's very, I'm not even going to listen to you because I don't believe that. And it's like, no, like, let's have a conversation. Like, why, like, okay, you're telling me you want to kill yourself, and what's making you want to kill yourself? And do you want to die, or do you just want the pressure that you're coming under to end? Because there's a difference between the two, by the way. We ain't talking about suicide awareness or intentional week right now, but that's just an example of how our community in particular, when we're talking about the black and brown community, there's such a lack of, there's such ignorance when it comes to proper health care, like just managing our health and decreasing how we respond to stress and how we respond to different circumstances, that we just pass it down.
Just pass it. Man, this is good. This see, we waited for a time such as this because right now, you're saying all the right things, all the necessary things, and I'm glad you're touching on this generational thing, how it keeps passing down, how it's been dismissive, how the blanket, that's what I'll say, like depress them dishes, or when you're a child, you ain't got nothing to be depressed about. But if you could share with the parents from their perspective, what does that really look like, or how damaging that is to say to a child, you don't have anything to be depressed about?
Well, first thing first, it teaches the child to not acknowledge their emotions. So by doing that, you're creating low EQ children, and EQ stands for emotional intelligence, which that there's 4 quadrants to that, but one of those quadrants is not only emotional awareness, but also being able to express those emotions. So number one, by doing that, you're telling the child, like, your emotions don't matter, and you're not teaching them how to regulate their emotions, because we all have emotions. Men and women have the same level of emotions, but we are all like taught to do it differently. So let's go for the men's perspective. We tell a young boy, to stop crying before I give you something to cry about. Okay, you're teaching them not to cry, but you're not teaching him how to regulate his emotions. You're not telling him how to, okay, just breathe for a second. I know you mad, just breathe, calm down. Well, little Johnny, you teaching them, okay, I can't show my emotions in front of women, which then we got relational problems. Like, why aren't you vulnerable? Why aren't you showing me this? Why aren't you showing me that? Well, because you didn't teach me. So that language does create that eventually in adults. And the same thing, and it's not just for men, because, that happens to women too. So to answer that question, yes.
Yeah. I'm glad, again, parents, listen, and I'm saying that, and I'm glad we're having these conversations, because we pay homage to our ancestors, being our parents, our grandparents, in that sense, like the ones who taught us, and they were learning all those good things. So when you hear us have these conversations, don't be offended, right? This is the way that we're going to heal, and this is the way we're going to change things for the better. Some of the ways that you all did things were absolutely wrong. It was absolutely damaging, because, again, in our generation of, well, you ain't out there in the dating world, but in the dating world, is the reviews. I'm not even in it. That I got other things to worry about. But just the reviews and the communication that I read from different people who are dating, it's hard. The women don't know how to regulate their emotions. The men don't either. And so instead of us working together as a team, we're dang near about to, take each other's head off. But like I've always said, you don't wake up as a 21, 22-year-old knowing how to do this if you weren't trained as a child to walk this way, to, have these tools, to have these coping skills. And so parents, when a child says they're feeling some type of way, and somebody put in the comments that their baby has just experienced that. She said, my baby just went through this. Her counselor called me and I dropped everything immediately. Yes, learn your children. You'll know the dramatic child, right? Some children really are dramatic. They are attention seekers. But even in that, why? And what do you say about that? Because I know sometimes in the culture too, some children feel like they have to do such things to get the attention of their parents. And so how do you encourage parents to have that type of balance, to know that if a child threatens their life or threatens harms to themselves some type of way, not to be so dismissive, if they deem the child dramatic?
I mean, I think it honestly starts with, I hope, and unfortunately, I'm not the people on this call. So the people that are in the comments, people that are watching, I'm not talking about you, but there are some people who haven't created a safe space for their child to come talk to their parents. Like, I don't know about you, but I was afraid of my mom. Like, I was for a long, I was legitimate feared of my mom. Like when I was young, I still remember when we were in church back when we was in Arkansas, like my mom told me to, like, I don't know what I was doing. I was like making noise. I don't know, but she told me to be quiet or else I'm going to take you to the front of the church and whoop you in the middle of service. Now, knowing my mother like I do now, I know that was a bluff. But
yeah.
But when I was 6, 7 years old, I believed her. And so but it's things like that. And you know, shout out to mom. She did the best that she could. But she did tell me things like, stop crying before I give you something to cry about. Why are you crying so much? Like stop that, grow up, all this good stuff. And so that didn't necessarily ever, and luckily I never wanted to kill myself. I never want to do anything like that. But for other kids, that pressure, that emotional pressure, and not having an outlet for it, not knowing, okay, let's say your kid is not enrolled in sports, so they don't have an outlet to do their aggression or their emotional stuff. They're not artistic, so they're not able to express themselves through art, through painting and different stuff like that. And they're mentally, everything that they're doing is locked in their head, which is a recipe for disaster. So you do a combination of those three things. You don't give them outlets, you don't teach them how to manage their stress, then they're not going to feel like they can come talk to you. They're going to feel like they're going to talk to the people that actually will listen to them. And sometimes that's the school. That's probably front line is the teacher. And then the teacher says, I don't know what to do with this. Then they end up in the counselor. And then that's why you get a phone call out the blue, because they're dealing with it. So first things first, you have to create a safe environment for them to come and talk to you. And this might mean changing a little bit how you talk to them. You might have to learn what is it called, the gentle parenting model. You got to learn it a little bit. Now there's some things in gentle parenting I'm like, we've gone a little bit too far.
Take that out.
Just bring it back a little bit, just a little bit. But creating that safe space is going to be key, because that is how, you know, I hate to say it, but sneaky children are born, because they don't feel like they can talk to you. Every time they talk to you, it's, you know, you coming down at them instead of really just sitting back and just listening. And when you question them, don't question them like what they just said was stupid, what they just said was disrespectful. Because a lot of people in the generation before my mom's mom, they say, oh, that's disrespectful. Who are you talking back to? And that shuts people down immediately. So really take your time to really create that safe space. But once that comes up, like I've been having thoughts of killing myself. I've been really feeling worthless. I really haven't really just been feeling that good about myself. I don't really have confidence like myself. That's when I really, really would encourage you just to get professional help. So if that means you got to call your insurance company and get a therapist, if you need to come out of pocket for a little minute, your child's life is worth it. Your child's health is worth it.
Glad you said that.
So
now those are the things, worthy investments. Getting you a life insurance policy and investing in therapy for your children, like starting while they're young. Again, making these things a practice, because there are a lot of adults, young adults, who need to go to therapy, but it's not part of their practice. And so, you know, trying to get them into that space and get comfortable with it is a challenge. But if you start them while they're young, it definitely helps. There is a question.
And if you can't afford it, do what you can to get as best as you can. If you can't afford it, whether you got to take them to a church who's offering complimentary counseling or a nonprofit organization, or if you can't even get there, if you're in a desert, a place where there's not a lot of resources, if you have the internet, look into podcasts, look into as anything that you can get your hands on to try to learn. That's the best. What's the question that we have on the floor?
It says, does social media minimize relational coping skills?
Well, first of all, there's a whole lot of coping skills that you can do, because I like to kind of break down what I like to call stress busters or coping skills into different categories. One of the categories that I like to do is physical, mental, and spiritual / relational. And so while social media, I get, the argument that, social media is disconnecting you from having conversations and different stuff like that. But honestly, I kind of would just encourage, if you're a parent of a child and that's your worry, just get them in an environment where they have to talk. So like take their phone, sign them up for this, sign them up for that. And it kind of forces you to naturally like build it. Now, if they're like a teenager, okay, it might be a little late to right the ship. And eventually you just might have an introvert for a child at that point. But I won't say definitively that social media, I don't know like the research on it, so I can't speak to that. But just from knowing and working with the adolescents that I do work with, I can't say that it does hinder relational coping skills. I think that is everything in terms of teaching a child or teaching a teen or teaching an adult how to live their life. It started at home. Majority of what they learn in terms of engaging with people, it starts with, you know, that home life and different stuff like that. We ain't even talking about stress. What are we talking about today? Come on now.
We done went all into parenting a little bit.
I know we have. And this ain't the parenting class. We're supposed to talk about stress.
Well, bring us back. Bring us back to stress. I saw something because I got this book, The Psychology of Managing Pressure, Stress, like practical strategies to turn pressure into positive energy, because you know, that's just what it is. And it says, in fact, stress is a normal part of being alive, and the less we fear it, the more we can lead a happy and healthy existence. And I thought that was real important. That line that says, the less we fear it.
Yeah.
Because again, there's good stress and there's bad stress. Stress is also like an alarm system. When your body says, like, it makes you feel tense or some type of way, that lets you know there could be danger, right? Or that something needs to change or something is about to change. And so
it's a whole, I won't say scientific, but biological process, because what a lot of, so if you're in the mental health world, or if you know anything about mental health, you've probably heard of the phrase of the hormone known as cortisol. Now, cortisol gets a bad rep. It's really misunderstood because it gets this label as the quote unquote stress hormone, when really it's more of a energy hormone. Because how it works is, when we see a danger, so let's say you are walking in the park and all of a sudden you see a gorilla. Now, when you see the gorilla, what your body is going to do is start producing cortisol. Now, what cortisol is going to do is prepare your body for fight or flight. And this is usually where people stop the argument. It's like, okay, I'm getting ready to fight, or I'm getting ready to flight. So what happens really in today, because we don't have gorillas walking around the park, but we're still going through different stressful situations or triggers that put our body in that same place where we need to fight or flight. But the thing is, we're not about to run and we're not about to fight. So how it prepares our body for fight or flight is because it increases blood flow, it increases energy to our muscles, to our cardiovascular, and all the other systems that help us fight or flight. So think about your muscles, think about your heart rate, think about it's getting ready to prepare you. But what cortisol also does is it pulls back the systems that hinder you from fight or flight. So let's say, for example, you, in the same gorilla example, you have a stomach ache all of a sudden, but then you see the gorilla, you forget about that stomach ache right then and there, because cortisol has been produced. It's going to hinder any feeling that you had to your stomach or any other systems that's being pulled back, like your immune system, like your gastrointestinal system. That's going to delay that. That's what hormone does to its core, to the body. The problem is that when we're going under stressful situations at work, with our family, with our relationships, and that cortisol is being produced, unfortunately, our gastrointestinal, our immune system, it's not supposed to be suppressed for that long. But we're going through these circumstances day after day after day, which affects the health, which affects your overall health. That's why you're having gastrointestinal issues. You got the bubble guts, or you haven't pooped, or you're on the other end of the spectrum and you haven't pooped in 2 weeks.
Because that is not normal.
That's not normal. And that's really what I gotta teach. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because you gotta understand how stress affects your body. You remember I said earlier, it affects us all in different ways. But if you recognize how it's affecting you, then you can start implementing things to correct that, to heal that. Like the phrases that I've come up with is let me back up. First things first, you have to understand that stress affects probably the 4 major things in your life, and that is your health, the way that you make money. So your health, your finances, the work that you do, and the relationship that you have with other people. All right?
True.
I'm gonna say all that again. It affects your health, it affects your money, it affects the work that you do, and it affects your relationship with other people.
True. True. True.
Now, when it comes to health in particular, the acronym that I came up with is that it causes big problems. Big stands for blood flow, immunity, inflammation, and gut health. Let me say that again. It affects your blood flow, your immunity, your immune system, inflammation, and gut health. So let's run. So let's do this as an example.
I'm over here taking notes.
I got you, Marquita. When you have a lot going on, do you suddenly feel tension right here in your shoulder areas, in your lower back areas? Well, that is what I like to call stress knots. That is basically your muscles tightening up from all the pressure that you're dealing with, whether it's from you sitting incorrectly or you just thinking you're typing at your desk. So this stress can build up physically and mentally. So the physical stress on your body is producing these stress knots. So that's hindering the blood flow. So
wow. I don't see no hearts. I don't see no thumbs up, because listen, y'all not only learn about stress. This is the connection. And listen, this almost like a scientist sitting here, because one thing I know is important is to link the way we think, the emotional things that we experience, to the physical outcomes, even to the weight gain for a lot of, especially women. Like that stress, that muffin top that we can't get rid of. It's not just from the baby fat. Hormones are imbalanced, right? The cortisol is, well, he said it get a bad rep.
Yeah, it's firing too much.
I'm about to get cortisol a bad rep, but your body is literally in knots. And we're talking about stress, right? These are things that affect the way you think and the way you feel mostly, but the physical results, the physical outcomes of that stress. So go ahead. I just wanted to make sure that people understand what I'm saying, because you're connecting this thing. So go ahead. You got big problems: blood flow, immunity, inflammation, and gut health.
Absolutely. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that, and I read this in a book, and I was like, this makes so much sense. If you're having blood problems, so we're talking about high blood pressure, talking about diabetes, all that type of stuff, right? If you're having blood flow issues in one area of your body, chances are it's affecting you in other areas as well. And the blood flow that we need to our brain affects our behavior, affects the way that we think. It affects the way that we process information. It affects our ability to handle daily irritations from our children, from our relationships, from our jobs, from our businesses. See, what did Bishop say? I'm preaching better than y'all. What?
I mean, because I don't know why the folks ain't reacting, because you got me in my book, right? I'm also reading Crucial Conversations. And so what you just said, I highlighted it for tonight too, because I wrote beside it that was like stress. And it talks about how we respond in conversations, right? Yep. Like the feelings that we feel and how those things show up. Oh, okay. Here it is. And so it's pretty much the way you just explained it. And I was like, oh, I'm going to put that out there for tonight. It says, two tiny organs seated neatly atop your kidneys pump adrenaline into your bloodstream. You don't choose to do this. Your adrenal glands do it, and then you have to live with it. And they talking about when you're in the moment, the fight and flight thing, the situation, you say things that you know you shouldn't say. But in that moment, two tiny organs, it says, seated atop of your kidneys, are pumping adrenaline into your bloodstream. So you don't choose to do this. Your adrenaline glands do it. And you have to live with the choice that was made in that moment. So learning how to regulate yourself, right? Knowing what your triggers are.
Adrenaline and cortisol are best friends, by the way. So just
teach us.
That. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. So teach us
that. But that's
when I read that, I wrote stress right there, because that's exactly what that is.
That's just blood flow. We ain't even talking about how. Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. So when it comes to your immune system, so when stress comes up and builds up, so first of all, we probably should have doubled back, because like you mentioned that there's good stress and there's bad stress, and that's absolutely true. So breaking it down, there's acute stress and there's chronic stress, and even there's another category called episodic stress. And so how that kind of breaks down is acute stress is basically short-term stress. So this is just little stress, like not like little moments of stress, like somebody honked you on the highway, like, you know, different things like that. So this is like little stuff, short-lived, they come and go. It's not that big a deal. It's just, okay, that was an interesting situation, but we're moved on from it. Chronic stress is when it's something that lasts for a long time. And that's this is the most stress that this is the biggest area of stress that we want to avoid, because honestly, chronic stress can come from going through a stressful season at work. Like, let's say you have issues with, sales, or through a coworker, or different things like that, or you're going through a different family situation. Like we say a lot about, cancer patients, but what about the families of those cancer patients, dealing with taking them up to the hospital for treatment, seeing them, degenerate, seeing them go through the chemo, like that emotionally can be a lot of stress. And then, of course, there's episodic stress, which is where we're dealing with something just for a time. So let's say, for example, those of you who have students, check on them during midterms and for sure final season, because that season, that 3-week stretch of time is going to be very, very stressful. Now, here's the thing. When finals week is over, we ain't got to worry about that again, at least until the next finals week. So that's kind of different categories of stress. The worst one, like I said, is that chronic stress, because that is when we're under stressful situation, and that cortisol that we talked about before is firing for a long stretch of time every day. And so when that cortisol is going for a long period of time, it pulls back our immune system. It hinders our immune system, our T cells. It hinders. The cortisol is getting ready for fight. It's getting ready to deal with danger. It's getting ready to deal with different issues and situations. So it's hindering the T cells and all the endocrine system, everything that's contributing to the immune system. Now, what that means is when infections are in our vicinity, because infections are all around us, bacteria is all around us. But when those things come, they're hitting us a little bit harder. They're making us more vulnerable to bronchitis. They're making us more vulnerable to the flu. They're making us more vulnerable to those different diseases. It hurts our body's protection to be able to protect against that. So it doesn't make you sick, but it definitely lowers your defenses so sickness can come and take root.
Wow. I mean, I don't know why the hearts aren't going. I don't know why the hearts aren't going.
I see them commenting. I see them.
Okay. Because a lot of these chronic illnesses and, all that, like the chronic stress, the chronic, every day you waking up stressed out about something, you just should not, it's not good on you to be stressed out every day like that. There was a comment that I wanted to read out. It says, but we have to always remember, everyone can't process the thought of the process.
Everyone can't process
not really
the
sure
thought of the process.
I always say caregivers need caregivers too. Absolutely. I'm going through it now. And so maybe the process of whatever they're experiencing. And I think I kind of understand where it's coming from. And if we could talk about that as it relates to stress too, because I'll say overthinkers, if you will. That's probably the easiest thing that I can think of. Like a lot of people overthink, or people always think, like the paranoia thing, like always thinking somebody out to get them, thinking people trying to get over on them. Can you talk more about that as it relates to stress? Because I'm sure that creates some level of stress, always thinking somebody out to get you, always thinking like, waiting on the other shoe to drop type thing.
So just so I'm clarified on the question, so you're saying focus on or talk about how to manage the stress, or talk about how to deal with the paranoia, or what are we talking about? I need some clarity on that.
Well, I guess that, how to deal with it, how to manage that stress, or keep from overthinking.
Well, overthinking, I think, is it's such a unique thing, those people that overthink, because as a overthinker sometimes, because I get in my thinking spell sometimes, but honestly, what works for me and for my clients, first of all, I have to explain to them, when a thought is in your mind, it's gonna keep, there's no stopping it. Like in your head, there is no break button. It is impossible to stop it. I like to paint this scenario for people when it comes to, I say, racing thoughts. I want you to picture yourself everybody's familiar with NASCAR. What NASCAR is, you know, the where they go round and round ground 200 miles an hour. I want you to picture yourself in one of those cars, right? And there are cars driving by you, there are cars behind you, but you're going like 200 miles an hour, right? But there's one problem. You don't have a steering wheel. That is what racing thoughts feels like. You got thoughts going this way, you got thoughts going that way, you got going zigzag, and you're in the passenger seat trying to make sense of it, but you have no control over it when it's in your head. You have to park that car. And how do you park that car? By getting it out of your head, writing it down, raw, unfiltered thoughts, helping to channeling it with affirmations, with words that you can physically say out loud, but you have to get it out of your head, because when it's in your head, it's undefeated. There's no way to. It's like,
I like that analogy, man, and I could like visually see it, like when all these thoughts, no steering wheel, so your hands are everywhere. You're trying to find something to hold on to. Everything's just all over the place. Literally no control.
Absolutely. And when it comes to like dealing with the pressure on your, and you got to recognize how it's really learning on how it's building on your body, because people just don't know the signs as well. Like people don't recognize, like, okay, you know, my blood flow is acting up. I'm getting sicker lately. Like I'm dealing with some inflammation in my hand. I don't know what that's about. I'm dealing with some inflammation in my ankles. This is a little bit abnormal. Like, why is this happening all the time? Like, why is my back inflamed with all these stress knots? Why haven't I gone to the bathroom? Why am I going to the bathroom too much? What people don't know the signs, so we don't know how to deal with them. So honestly, learning how to deal with that is going to be very key. So I always say start with this. My approach starts with really a core 4 kind of approach. So first things first, you have to watch what you eat. And here's the thing. People don't realize that your mental health is directly connected to your gut health. What I mean by that is there's this neurotransmitter, which is a fancy word for a hormone, a brain hormone, called serotonin. A lot of serotonin, like I don't know the exact percentage, but it's a lot of serotonin is released from the gut. Meaning if your gut health is imbalanced, if you're not eating what you're supposed to eat. So in particular, when it comes to benefiting your, well, hold on, before we get into gut health, let's just talk about food, because recognizing, we talked about it affects your blood flow, it affects your immunity, it affects your inflammation, and it affects your gut health. So you have to focus on foods that directly counteract that. So we got to look at things like iron. We got that help the hemoglobin. All the hemoglobin help the oxygen get where it needs to. What helps iron? Vitamin C is a best friend of iron. Helps with iron absorption. Now here's a lot of things that here's one thing that's going to probably be a game changer for a lot of you that struggle with anxiety. Magnesium.
Oh, yes.
So what a lot of people don't know about magnesium is that it is a natural number one, it helps with over 300 different systems in our body. I'm gonna say that again, it helps with over 300 different systems in our body in general. The reason why it's one of my favorites is because it helps with the body's stress response. It naturally helps the body relax. And of course,
I learned the hard way.
And there's different forms of magnesium. And to take it a step further, there's different forms of magnesium. The kind that I recommend the most are magnesium citrate and magnesium glycinate. So the major difference is if you go to the doctor and they say your magnesium level is really, really low. So that's overall your body needs, like you need like a jolt of magnesium for all of your system. You want to take magnesium citrate because that one supports your whole body. Magnesium glycinate, which is what I take, honestly, that one helps with muscle relaxation and it helps with sleeping. So that one is kind of the one that if it's like more anxiety, it absorbs in the body a bit faster. I say glycinate.
That's
But
the one I
there
say.
you go. So like I say, like knowing the minerals that your body needs, from iron to magnesium to selenium to potassium. I'm learning more myself. I'm reading every day. I'm learning different things and diets and different stuff like that just help the body be energized, alert, and focused. So that's number one. The second aspect of it is helping the gut be able to process the food and energy like it needs to. I'm like I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you eat 3 times a day, but you're only going 3 times a week, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
It's a huge problem. Can I say those names again? Yes. So the essential minerals that I recommend the most, top ones. Now there's a whole list, and I'm researching them for myself before I just go public with them and stuff like that. But for my top ones are iron, magnesium, and for that magnesium, it's magnesium citrate and magnesium glycinate, and then selenium. That one helps with inflammation in the brain. Essentially, it helps you think better. Selenium, and I'm gonna say potassium because it's already out there. But those are my top 3. Oh, how could I forget about zinc? Zinc as well. Zinc is gonna help support your immune system. So those are my top 4: iron, magnesium, zinc, and selenium. And then my honorable mention is potassium. Now, a lot of people don't need to know this, especially in the Black and brown community. So let me say this. Potassium is going to help your blood pressure.
You hear that, blood pressure, people?
Blood pressure. So
potassium.
So what you want to do is you want to focus on foods that are high in those. And different foods, honestly, there are some superfoods that have everything that we need in it and the right amount in it, like spinach, kale, greens. Not the ham hock collard greens that we used to boil in. Not those. I'm talking about
not the doctored up ones. Huh?
No. I'm talking about like the mustard greens.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. But honestly, if it's green, it's probably very clean for your body. So we're talking
green is clean.
We're talking about like broccoli. Asparagus has less on the totem pole because it's mostly water. Not asparagus, celery, different stuff like that. But if it's green, it's very good for your body. It has a lot of nutrients that our body needs. But potassium in particular, it really, really, really helps with blood pressure. So if you got if your doctor told you have high blood pressure, look at foods that have potassium for sure. And of course, magnesium as well.
Yeah, I took the magnesium. My coworker, an older lady, she had told me about it, and I bought some, and I took it like before work. I didn't know the details, and I was like, God, I'm sleepy. I know I went to bed, but I'm talking about just out, and I was like, what is it? And then she's like, you're supposed to take it at night. It makes you sleepy. Well, now I know.
It can make you sleepy because it just helps. It just helps you relax.
It does.
But I mean, another way you can get it if you're not into taking pills, if you're just like, I don't want to do that. Well, what you don't know is those Epsom salt baths. Guess what that has in it? Magnesium. Guess what? Here's a lot of people don't realize about their skin. Their skin absorbs a lot of things. If you're taking a bath or if you're absorbing a lotion or a cream, that's another way to take in magnesium. So if you're not in the pills, if you're not in the pills, look into a magnesium cream. It's probably not going to be a citrate or glycinate. It'll probably be a different form of magnesium. But I know for sure, I think it's magnesium citrate in the Epsom salt bath, like Dr. Teal's. That's a good way to do it. So yeah, so those are the things that you can take. Now, in supporting your gut health, in supporting like the ability to process the food and different stuff like that, you want to focus on fiber, of course. That's very important. I know a lot of old people are like, I need my fiber oats. No, you got it right. But you need things like fiber, and you need your lots of water. And by lots of water, I mean take your body weight, slice it in half. That is what you're supposed to drink. So if you're 200 pounds like me, I need at least 100 ounces of water. That's what's going to help. That's what's going to help my gut health be what it needs to be. Now, obviously, if you're working out, obviously you need to rehydrate yourself. So do that until you feel good. But on a normal basis, take your body weight, slice it in half. So if you weigh 120, you need at least 60 ounces of water. If you weigh 180, that's 90 ounces of water. This whole gallon, eight glasses a day, I don't know who came up with that.
Talk to the people.
I don't know who came up with that. But take your body weight, slice it in half. That's how much water you need. And then last and certainly not least, so just recap, we need fiber, we need water, and this thing called probiotics. Now, a probiotic is bacteria. Now, we've been taught that all bacteria is bad. No, there are good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. The probiotic is the good bacteria that helps support. One, you already got bacteria in you. So let me just go ahead and dispel that. And we want the good bacteria that helps the food digest, help it release the proper energy, so on and so forth like that. Now, Cameron, where do I get foods that are high in fiber and what foods have probiotics in it? Well, probably the best things that have fiber, honestly, fruits. So I've been experimenting with some fruits that can help you go. And I made the mistake of mixing some of these two together. So for example, kiwis, and kiwis actually has a lot of potassium too, but it also has a lot of fiber. Pineapples as well have a lot of fiber and vitamin C. So I don't know if you're noticing, but a lot of these foods have a lot of overlap in the stuff that we need to help our body be at its best, have the most energetic, and be able to think the best clearer. So we're talking apples, we're talking kiwis, we're talking pineapples. Different fruits like that are naturally going to help us go. So again, if you're not going, here's the thing, you want to go if you're eating 3 times a day. Some of us, we only eat once a day, we only eat twice a day. But if you're eating 3 times a day, if you're eating twice a day, you want to go at least once a day. At least once a day. If you can go more than that, that means your metabolism working great. God bless you. Good. But we need at least once a day.
At least
once. But yeah, you want to get things that include that. And speaking of probiotics, you want to get things that have fermented stuff. So we're talking about Greek yogurt. We're talking about kimchi. I want to say pickles on a lighter scale because, they're fermented cucumbers. So different things like that are going to, and they have a lot of electrolytes too. I heard somebody say something about electrolytes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that when you said something about the water.
Right. So it's going to help produce those probiotics, those good things. Now, you can go on the shelf and, of course, buy your probiotic as well and take that as well for the supplements.
But the things that grow out of the ground, if it's green, it's clean. Y'all go ahead and remember that for the rest of the week. If it's green, it's clean. But it's amazing how, again, thank you, Cam. You have really linked all these things together because that gut health and that mental health, they brothers and sisters, they're twins. They go together.
Right.
It matters.
That's just the first thing that you can do. But I don't want to overwhelm people, so I don't want to give too much.
And I think that's a good start for us too. Again, culturally, I think that's a good start because we like our food now.
Absolutely.
We like to doctor it up, like you said, the greens. We don't put the ham hocks in it, the bacon fat, and the fat back. And now the healthy food ain't that healthy no more.
Now here's the thing, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I love a good seasoned, pot of greens. My mom's mom, remember, I don't think you had the opportunity to meet her, but she can make some collard greens now. She can make them real nice. So I'm not the guy. To tell you eliminate everything cold turkey. What I tell people is, one, try to get at least one nutritious, grilled, non-fatty, non-too sugary meal a day. At least one. Because studies show that if we get one serving of a green leafy vegetable, it'll have major changes in our diet. Just one serving. So just one. So now, of course, you can make the cold switch. You can go full keto. You can go full grilled. You can do that. That's your business. You do that. God bless you. God keep you. I'm not gonna recommend that because I don't do that myself. But honestly, I say the best time to do it is in the morning. Why? Because you're about to get going for the day. So if you can do that in the morning, I do it personally by making a smoothie. And this is where I was telling you I got in trouble by mixing. So I mixed, I said a strawberry, I think it was strawberry, kiwi, and pineapple. So two foods that have fiber. Boy, I tell you, it made me go like within the next hour and a half.
It was a clean day for you.
It was a good clean day. Good clean day. But it's good, but it's still good for my system. So I didn't mind it. I was just like, I just ain't gonna make that mistake again in my smoothie recipe. So it's like it's either pineapple or kiwis, not together, one or the other.
Yeah, y'all better hear that. Don't get yourself in trouble now. I know you want to get your fruit, but be careful how you mix the fruit. Right. And that's that's true and that's real. As we
learn what each one has in it. Learn what each one has in it.
Yes, I know we're moving towards, eating healthier, adding these things that we should have already had in our diet, but some of these things you can't mix together, right? And you either learn the hard way or you learn from Cam.
You can. There's just gonna be some consequences.
It's gonna be a clean day.
It's gonna be a clean day. Good clean day.
It's gonna be a clean day. That has tickled me bad. Some of us probably need a clean day. Go ahead and mix your kiwi and your strawberry and your pineapple. Exactly. Get your clean day.
Magnesium is gonna help you go too. By the way, just so y'all know, citrate definitely is gonna help you go. That's All these kind of they complement each other. So they get you going so you can get going. Absolutely. And you can think clearly, because let me tell you something. I'm serious. And I tell my clients this all the time. It's not good for you to be full of shit. Physically and literally. Like literally and hypothetically and like what's the word? Figuratively and literally. Figuratively and literally. It's not good for us to be full of shit. You cannot think. You cannot think clearly when you are full of shit.
Like for real. Like, don't talk to me right now. I can't. You get and then you get to sweating and everything when you know what I'm saying. You gotta go ahead and take it. Like, don't talk to me. I can't think. I'm sweating. I'm hot. Like, don't talk to me till I can help myself out.
So, who's dropping all types of quotes tonight? I'm gonna drop that. Figuratively and literally, it's not good for us to be full of shit.
Don't be full of it, okay? You heard what Cam said in the light room, and he told you how to release that.
Absolutely.
Get you some kiwi, strawberry, and pineapple. Okay.
Strawberry, pineapples, magnesium, get it all.
Get it all, and then have a good night's sleep because you're gonna need it after all that.
Yeah, take your shower, clean yourself up, get in the bed, go to sleep.
Please do. Are there any matter of fact, I'm gonna go back and rewatch this because you have put a lot of good information out there, a lot of good information, a lot of strong points. And again, the way you opened up about stress learning how to manage and control your stress being the foundation. I 100% agree with that. Like, the reason some people get into, those more diagnosable illnesses because we haven't learned to touch it at the root. Like, you just let things pile up, and then one day you explode. And now it is a full-blown mental illness, right? Because you don't do that self-care. You don't do that management of your mental health. And then we can start. It's a really good place to start because once you can feel clear and see clear and hear clear, then you can, start making the other decision that goes towards your mental health. I don't know where my words are tonight.
I got you.
But
it's late. I get it.
I don't know where my words are tonight, but they are gone. I've been, all excited all weekend. So, I'm a Grammy now. And I just been all in her little face. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, congratulations.
Thank you. I've been all in her little face, so I ain't, ain't no stress over here all weekend. She's such a little beauty, but thank you. I'm so glad that this worked out. This was really good. And in perfect timing. Again, perfect timing. You were ready. I was ready. We were ready. And I hope the people got everything that they need. Everything. Thank you, sweet love. Everything that they need in this. Listen, y'all, go back and rewatch this because y'all need to write down those different types of magnesiums. Again, I learned the hard way about magnesium. I said, I know I went to bed last night. Why am I asleep like this? Found out you got to take the magnesium at night so you can rest at night.
The glycinate, the citrate you can take during the day.
Yeah, well, I had glycinate, and it was glycinating because I was on the front aisle, and I was like rocking. I couldn't even help myself. I was like, what is the problem? I was taking the magnesium at the wrong time, but it definitely helps relax you. So shout out to Miss Eva for telling me about that magnesium.
Shout out to
And
me.
it was good for the anxiety. So that's why I was taking it.
All right.
Any more? Some great notes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, to the parent, creating that safe space, like he said, is very important. Allowing your children to come into, your presence and be able to say, I feel some type of way. You don't have to agree with it in the moment, but allow them to release what it is they feel. Because if you don't,
now here's the thing: if you're struggling with that, that might mean you need to go sit on somebody's couch, sit on somebody's chair.
And when you said that earlier, because I was trying not to take it to that route with the parenting thing. Because even personally, that was one of the things that I learned. Those things that were uncomfortable to sit with my child were triggering things in me.
Correct.
So that's why it was difficult to assist him or support him in his challenges, because they were triggering me. And at the time, I didn't have what I needed to be able to manage both. Which is, again, how I started going to therapy, because I couldn't be present for my son, and that was a problem for me. And so, parents, it could be a way for you to learn that, yeah, I got some unresolved things that I need to take care of. If it's not for you, do it for your children. Do it for your children. One of the greatest gifts is that your child can come back as an adult and still want your wisdom, still want your advice, still want you to be a part of their life. That's like one of the greatest compliments for a parent. So create that space. Listen to the babies. They have stuff to be stressed out about. School is stressful. Getting good grades, making friends,
and being a teenager is hard. Being a teenager is hard. If you got teens, here's another thing I've learned. One, kids are mean. Kids are mean to each other for no reason at all, and they say the most outlandish, off the wall, stupidest stuff to each other, and they feelings be hurt. Our feelings be hurt. Like you as an adult, your feelings can be hurt. So think of you as a 8-year-old, as a 9-year-old, as a 11-year-old, as a 13-year-old, as a 14-year-old, as a 16-year-old. Like, they be going through it. So don't dismiss or discredit any of them. So yeah, I have to say that little tidbit.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because it's real and it's true. Like I sub in the schools and I work with these kids, and they really do. And some children, again, because they're learning, they're developing, they're having to learn how to regulate. They're learning how to, say that's how you feel. That's not exactly who I am or how I am. And so those things. And then you have some adults who haven't learned it either. You have some adults who want to pop off because somebody says something about them, and you like 35, bro. You don't know by now. That's just them talking.
45, 55.
I'm a pop out. Come on. So yeah, show those children some grace. Give yourself some grace, and go to therapy. Wanting to be accepted as kids is hard. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. It's difficult. Hard for adults. If you know it's hard for you, and I don't care what adults be saying, I don't need nobody. I don't care. That's not true. It matters. It matters to you. It matters to you, because you don't want to spend this life by yourself. You should. So support each other, support yourself, support your children. Get to the bottom of the stress. Having, the anxiety and depression diagnoses and getting that far, for some of us, it really doesn't have to be. And even if you have those diagnoses, right? Because on my last assessment, the depression didn't show up anymore. And I was like, for real? For real? So things can change. Once you learn those coping skills, once you learn what your triggers are, once you learn how to take, as much control as you can over your thoughts and your mindsets, then, it won't be showing up.
And honestly, what a lot of people don't understand about depression is that a lot of it is a chemical imbalance. Even I didn't understand this until I really, got my degree and then started working in the field and really just stepping back and looking at it from a holistic perspective. Some of it is really just a chemical imbalance of your serotonin, your dopamine, your oxytocin, different things like that, which can be affected by the foods that we eat, us not moving enough, getting enough vitamin D, and repeating back to ourselves those harmful like self messages, like that you aren't good enough, that you're always going to be a failure, you're never going to be successful. Like us repeating that back to ourselves in combination with the imbalances, the lack of blood flow getting into our body, the lack of energy from not eating the right foods. If you're eating fatty foods from sun up to sundown, of course you're not going to have the energy.
Yeah, the body's exhausted. You exhausted.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's why people are still sleeping even though they're getting 8 hours of sleep. It's like, I just feel tired all the time. Well, what are you eating? Why are you eating?
And when did you eat?
Why are you eating Chick-fil-A all day, every day? Love Chick-fil-A. God bless you. God bless Chick-fil-A. But unless you're getting the grilled chicken salad every time, then
come on about it now.
You might need to just chill out. I'm just saying we gotta look at this from a holistic perspective too, because I get
you right.
I get it. Like, yes, there are the mental battles, the different traumas, the different situations that you've gone through. Those definitely impact you. But before we can get through that, sometimes we gotta get your body to a baseline to go forward. That's why people are so in my profession. That's why people are so quick to put medication on people to get you stabilized, because people don't want to do the hard work to change your diet, to implement supplements.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's why we're quick. That's why we're quick to prescribe Lexapro, Prozac, Ritalin.
I like my Prozac.
I'm saying that's why we prescribe it, because I'm just saying we prescribe it because we need to get you stable. Yeah. We need to get you stable. Yeah. You're here. You're suicidal. You're about to go commit right now. I need to get you stable, and that's what we do. That's how I operate, at least. If it's an extreme behavior, I'm gonna get you on medication. If it's not extreme, then let's change the diet. Let's implement some supplements, and let's do this. Because it takes longer for that to build up in your system. It takes now I see the question being asked now. How long does it take to feel better? Honestly, it's gonna take you consistently doing it for at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that ain't bad.
At least 3 weeks. Now you might feel it instantly. Maybe your body might be different from mine. You might feel it within the first week, but it's usually it takes about 3 weeks for it to build up in your system. So
that's 21 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there it is, y'all. Like this, there's mental health, right? And people throw it around so loosely, and we got to be careful. And I know mental health is sometimes a more easier thing to say than mental illness, because not everybody has a mental illness, but we all have mental health. We just want to make sure we have good mental health. But at the very root, at the very source of it all, we have control. We can get a better mental health, mental wellness for ourselves. And that can start with what we're eating, what we're listening to, what we're saying to ourselves. Like you said, repeating back the negative thoughts. And I know sometimes it's difficult if you were raised, around a negative environment, and all people have ever said to you was that you wasn't going to be nothing through all those channels. I know it can be difficult, but fight for your own will to live, for your own mind, and change your environment. If you're an adult now, you don't have to be afraid of what somebody said to you when you were 9. You're an adult now. You can make new friends. You can even build you a new family. And I know sometimes culturally, that's one of the toughest places, because we grew up with our family. We're taught that family is everything, but sometimes that's the very place you need to remove yourself from your family. And so that's what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. Eat your fruits, eat your vegetables, get your rest. Okay, get your rest. And you ain't got to be taking the medications as quickly or as much, or having a diagnosis. And just because you have a diagnosis, like my niece said last week, you don't have to let that control your life. You don't have to let that hinder your life just because you have a diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Mr. Kameron. Man, yay, we made it.
We did.
We made it. I've been a praying sister all day. I was like, Lord have mercy. Because here's the thing. I left my headphones at home, and nowhere in this good Mississippi Delta could I find the headphones I needed. without going to Walmart because I ain't feel like going to Walmart. But I couldn't find the ones I needed, but whatever.
Gotcha.
It worked.
Gotcha.
So didn't even have to have them. It worked out. So I know you do have a book, your website. Is there a place that they can go to get more information from you, resources from you? How can the people get more support?
So I'm in an interesting transition right now, because if you join it, those of y'all who are joining us right now, first of all, thank y'all for being late. But I am in go through, watch it again. I'm in a transition right now because I'm less than 100 hours away from getting my licensure. Which once I get that licensure, a lot of things are going to be happening once I have that in hand. So it's like I'm slowly preparing for that. But I mean, right now I'm just kind of in the space where I'm focusing, putting my head down and doing towards that. And really, I'm really passionate right now about like working with entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs have a tendency to work some more, and they keep working until they crash and burn, and they have to sit down for about 2-3 weeks. So I'm really passionate right now about helping that group of individuals. I got a free masterclass for entrepreneurs, helping them, reduce stress, gain energy, and gain mental clarity so they can continue to grow and scale their business. I'm really heavy in that right now. For everyone else that is not an entrepreneur, I'm working on something special for you too. But if you want to support the kid, you can buy merch. This is my brand right now. This is Stress Off. So I say no to this, no stress. That. So yes, these are I got this in black, white, gray, and I think blue. So
our website link, you can put it in the comments.
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments so that they can get the link to that. But yeah, I mean, if you just want to buy merch and support me as I get ready to launch, because I got a lot of things coming down the pipeline. So I mean, connect with me, follow me on the Facebook. I even made a TikTok in January. Got a YouTube, got LinkedIn. So wherever your favorite social media site, except Twitter, I don't do Twitter. That's a bit too much for me. But every other social media medium, you can follow me, connect with me on then. I got stuff coming down the pipeline pretty soon. I'm about to go on vacation, so, give me a little grace, because Sparkle, my wife, is turning 30. So we're going to Miami. So you might see a lot of vacation content. But I'll put in, stress tips and different quotes and different things and videos like that. So that's all I got going right now. I'm really probably going to go heavy for my business probably in the third quarter for sure. So stay tuned for different stuff like that, because like I said, stress affects your health, your wealth, the work that you do, and your relationships. So I'm about to really start releasing stuff to help support people in these core areas. So stay tuned.
Man, listen, the light room, okay? Educate, empower, and equip. Y'all get the resources, hands down, in this place. Y'all get the connection, hand down, in this place. Wherever you live, it doesn't matter. You can click the link, get you a Stress Off t-shirt, support Cam when he dropped all the other information and the resources, link up to it. But go back and watch this video. It's so important to learn how to, what you eat affects the way you think, the way you feel. So with those children, I know they love the hot Cheetos and the Takis.
Man.
And pull it back. Pull it back. I ain't gonna tell you take it all away, but I'm gonna say pull it back, definitely. But give them more fruits, give them more vegetables, give them more water, and then give them a safe space to express themselves and their emotions. Don't be giving them something to cry about if they're already crying. All right. Well, thank you, Cam. Again, I'm so glad that we got through this very smoothly. Right. The third time was absolutely the charm. And I appreciate you for being available. I appreciate you for coming through. Happy National Mental Health Awareness Month. Absolutely. Thank you for the work that you do in this space.
Absolutely.
All right.
So.
Yeah, okay. And so we will let you go so that you can get your rest and be ready for tomorrow and the rest of your work week. Everybody else.
Oh, no, I am.
You on vacation now?
I'm right now.
Man, he on vacation.
This live is over. I put in an extra hour for you.
Look at that. Look at that,
I
guys.
feel,
Look at that.
look, came, poured into the people. Now I gotta go finish packing. I started packing last night. I'm finished packing today, so that I can get on this plane and head to Miami tomorrow. So
Safe travels. Safe travels. And happy birthday, honey bun. Happy birthday to her. Well, thank you, sir. I'm going to release you to do that. Y'all enjoy. Again, safe travels. And thank you, Cam. I myself am going to go back and watch this because really great information shared tonight.
absolutely. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Tell your mama I said hi.
I will.
All right. Listen, yay, again, listen, if y'all were on here the first 2 times, like we tried this 2 times, this was literally our 3rd time and it worked like a charm. That was some good information, y'all. That was some good information for free. Watch what you eat. Share this live, even if people couldn't watch it live, we can always go back and watch the replay. Sit down, take notes from it, begin to be intentional about what you feed yourself, what you feed your children, because it affects the way you think, the way you feel. And again, mental illnesses are diagnosed, and mental health is what we all have, and we want to have good mental health. And that starts by watching what we eat, what we put in our mouth, what we put in our eyes, and what we put in our head and hearts. So, yeah, this has been Mental Health Monday. I am officially a Grammy. I'm not a granny. I am a Grammy, okay? BJ said, I want a Grammy. Yes, I did. And her name is Mallory. Y'all, she's so cute. Now that I'm past Mental Health Monday and her mom has posted pictures, I'm going to be posting a whole lot of pictures, okay? So I've been loving on her while I'm here because I'm leaving and I'm going to miss her. But thank y'all for supporting the Light Room. And again, go back and watch the replay. Share this live so that people can get this information as well. Thank y'all. Get some rest. Get some rest. Eat well. Live well. Happy National Mental Health Awareness Month. We will see y'all Monday where we're talking about healing. My beautiful soul sister is going to come through and talk about her healing journey. Man, it's going to be beautiful. So you don't want to miss Monday. We're back live because it's May National Mental Health Awareness Month, so we are live every Monday. After that, check the schedule because we're back to bi-weekly. All right? Have a good night.